had to just get this one little insight of information out. So one of the most pervasive primal fears that we have as humans with this logical brain is the fear of where is the beginning and where is the end. And we have to understand that eternity, infinity, the actual nature of our beingness and what we are, we cannot understand through the mechanism of the human mind. We have to let it go. So that is the piece that, I mean, whether it is a piece of the puzzle or when I'm talking about true peace that we have to understand, is that searching or that desire to know infinity is not possible. It is just not possible. So in terms as well, when we are looking at dimensional reality, we also have to understand that each individual that exists within our human consciousness or the collective consciousness, our human family, is a different dimension, because it is an experience totally unlike. So the vibrational frequency that entity is experiencing is quite literally another dimension. I cannot move into that other being's dimension from my vibrational field. I'm not in a collective coherence, an exact coherence with that other entity. So it is its own expression of a dimension, okay? And of course, there's higher and higher expressions of dimensionality. I think it's getting late, so I'm a little tired. But essentially, that quest for saying, where was the beginning? Who was the creator? Who created the creator? What comes after the end of time, or what comes after the end? Those questions are irrelevant. You just physically have to become peaceful and reside within the peace of mind or peace of consciousness, and stop asking those questions, because they are not. That's the whole answer. The answer is impermanence. The answer is forever. Forever means it doesn't have an ending. It doesn't have a beginning. It never had a beginning. It doesn't have an ending. And so I know that that's a really difficult concept, because in linear time, we see birth and death, and we see these very finite stops and starts to things. And so we perceive that as a certain defined reality, but it's not the truth. It's not the ultimate truth. And to transcend that primal mind, to transcend that mind that is fearful, we have to accept that that is a question that will always remain unanswered. And the beauty of it remaining unanswered is that there is always more answers to get. And that is the very premise of eternity. That is the premise of what it is to be eternal. So a consciousness, a being, the being that you are expressing, the way that you can ultimately let go of fear and this egoic mind, this sort of mask or trap that you have ensnared your consciousness in, is to, I don't want to say question less, question everything, get immersed in the stories and the adventure and the out manifestation of a beautiful life. But stop making yourself go crazy. I mean, Tesla is an excellent example of this, Einstein as well. They were so hyper-focused with needing an answer that they drove themselves crazy, instead of just understanding that life is the answer. The beautiful journey is the answer. And hopefully this makes sense. And the reason that I'm making this video is I was standing in the shower and, it just hit me that, that's a question I've been asking since I was a little girl. Like, where was the beginning? Where's the ending? What happens when it ends? What was the beginning of the beginning? Where did the beginning begin? Because if it began, it must have a beginning before that. And it never really made any sense to me. And I would actually stay awake as a little girl and like stress over this and have like a little journal and try to figure it out. And I could never like grasp it. And what I realized is that it is unattainable. It is the ever pervasive mystery of existence not to know. And the not knowing that chase that we continually have to know more is our eternal nature. And if we can just accept it, if we can just accept the concept that we are everlasting, that what we are is eternal, then the moment that you let go of that and the moment that you just say, okay, that's the way it is, and I don't need to know all the answers, and I'm just going to play with the joy and bliss of existing, in a sacred and righteous way. I guess you can play with the dark side as well, but if you're on a path where you've decided that you want to express in this lifetime the highest version of yourself, calibrating to that frequency of love, unconditional love and light, then again, be grateful, be reverent in that journey, and be accepting of the peace of mind that comes with just knowing that what you are will never cease to be. And that's a beautiful thought. Like that's it really eradicates any trouble that you're having inside. Anything that you are seeing in your environment right now that you don't, feel is the most beautiful enactment of what you wish to see, it can always be changed. It's always in flux. And I'm not saying that you throw away this lifetime and say, okay, well, I'll get it better next lifetime. Of course, do everything you can to change in this lifetime, to do your best in this lifetime. But also having that knowledge that you are absolutely going to continue on, it takes a lot of the pain and suffering away. It makes you realize that the ones that you lost, the loved ones, they're not lost. They're just, their energy is transformed into something else. Just like when you are not residing in this body, you're going to be transformed. The impermanence of this body should not be something to be fearful of. It's just, part of the evolution. It's part of the cycles of time. It's part of the beauty of eternity, of infinity. And again, then you can kind of loosen your grip. You can allow fear to loosen its grip, and you can take a lot more chances because, again, you know that you're going to have eternity to figure it out. You're going to have forever to figure it out. And that actually doesn't mean that you defer to bad decisions. Hopefully it means that you take a more bold action with each and every aspect of your life, because there's nothing to fear. If you are authentically you in each and every moment, what do you have to fear? Because there's no persecution in being the most beautiful version of yourself, because what you are is eternal. And understanding that the multi-dimensional aspect of our universe is in the kaleidoscope of all the other aspects of consciousness. There's so many expressions of reality, so many beautiful expressions of reality, that it's really mind-blowing. It's really awe-inspiring, and if anything, should really enliven you to the exact, the beauty of creation. You should marvel at each and every moment. So I don't want to make this video too long, but yeah, it just dawned on me. And kind of empowering, kind of beautiful, and kind of makes you just fall in love with life all over again, and just really feel the blessing, the immense blessing of the lifetime we're living in. You know, the fact that so many individuals collectively right now on planet Earth are kind of waking up to this reality. And, you know, when I was young, I always had this sense that I was meant to talk about these things and teach these things. And there was always a fear of like, how am I going to do this? Like, how am I going to be this like little girl that has these things to say? Like, it never really made sense to me until I started doing it and realizing that lots of other individuals are out there with the same knowledge. And it's really an awakening that's happening on planet Earth through the multitudes, through so many teachers and bringers of wisdom that are really kind of breaking up this veil between the spiritual realms, that those eternal realms of knowing and knowledge and wisdom, and the very finite kind of logical egoic mind that has been so pervasive here on Earth for so many millennia. And it's just such a beautiful time to be alive in terms of the increased frequency and really high levels of consciousness and conception that we are moving into on planet Earth. And I mean, this is also through the mechanism of the internet. Okay, it's no accident that all of us are now pretty much interconnected all over the world. We hit a saturation point where some of these technologies were allowed to exist because there was enough free will, or there was enough of the pendulum swing to human rights and free speech that this is now allowed. It's now something that, and I mean, it's not completely at a stage yet where we have complete free speech, but we have enough of it that's protected that this information can get out to the masses. And it doesn't mean that we still don't have a bit of a fight for that, but at least there's not a ton of persecution the way that there would have even been 100 years ago, okay? And the more pure the message, so the more that anybody teaching these concepts are teaching unconditional love. What do I mean by unconditional love? I mean, there's no conditions on the love. It just is an outpouring of that vibration of compassion. And the teaching should also never seek to divide. Never. If it's calibrated with the highest truth of the universal creation force, it will always seek to unite all life. It will never teach attack of any kind. It will never teach persecution of any kind. And that's the benchmark. That's how to benchmark anything. The other thing is, it will never want anything in return. It will never want to be elevated. It will never want to be, gaining something from the knowledge. There should be no pervasive gain. There may be a secondary gain that happens by chance, but the motivation should never be monetary. It should never be for the self in any way. Because again, that truth which knows itself completely, which knows all that it is, needs nothing. It is ultimate abundance with the peace of the knowledge of the unconditional love that it is. It needs nothing more. So again, when you are looking at any kind of teaching and where it's calibrated,